What would you think if I told you there's a wellness event where you can receive advice from a crystal shaman, get a photo of your aura as a keepsake, and maybe even enjoy a kale salad with some celebrities? That sounds like hell. Other than the aura bit, I quite like that. Well, good news, because you can do exactly that at Goop's in-person live events, cleverly named In Goop Health. The only catch is that it's also extremely expensive, elitist, and according to some people, full of medical quacks and fake gurus. Not surprising, really. Today, we're going to be taking a look inside Gwyneth Paltrow's divisive wellness summits, finding out exactly what goes on at these events, why some people have been multiple times and think it's the best way to spend a couple of grand if you got that lying around, and why others left feeling extremely disappointed, confused, and questioning whether they'd inadvertently joined a cult. First of all, let's start off with what In Goop Health is exactly. So we've all heard of Goop by now. It's been around for almost 20 years already, and in that time the brand has quickly risen to dominate the lifestyle and wellness industries. But although the brand itself has become so popular, I think fewer people know about In Goop Health. If you aren't particularly into like the wellness space, then there's a good chance you might not have heard of it. What it basically is, to put it very simply, is a wellness summit run by Gwyneth Paltrow and her Goop team. It's a full day or sometimes weekend-long retreat that combines unconventional wellness treatments and panels led by alleged wellness experts with boutique shopping, Instagram-friendly aesthetics, and of course, what people seemed most excited about, access to Gwyneth Paltrow herself. The summit made its debut back in June of 2017 in Los Angeles, of course, attracting over 600 attendees who paid anywhere between $500 and $1,500 for the pleasure, depending on which package they bought. The event involved a packed 10-hour day featuring wellness panels, workshops, general experiences, healthy food, and a gift bag of Goop-approved products at the end of the day. We'll get into more of the exact details of what exactly happens on a day in the In Goop Health Day just in a moment. But it's fair to say that the first event was a big success. And as a result of that initial success, as well as a huge demand from Goop fans who couldn't attend the first event, Gwyneth decided to take In Goop Health on tour, visiting other major cities like New York, Vancouver, London in the UK, and San Francisco. Since then, she's introduced a virtual version of In Goop Health in response to COVID-19, and the in-person summits have become a popular annual event amongst Goopies, which is what fans of the brands apparently call themselves. But I know you're dying to know what kind of things Gwyneth and her Goopies are actually getting up to at these events, so let's get into it. Now, when you think of like a wellness summit, you're probably picturing the basics, right? What we all think of, like yoga sessions, facials, like smoothies and juices, etc. And In Goop Health does have all those things, but they also get up to a lot more, let's say unique activities. At the very first In Goop Health, which if you remember cost between $500 to $1,500, you could take part in activities such as flavored oxygen bar, aura photography, and vitamin IV drips. It also featured a woman who claimed to be an intuitive medium, Reiki master, and crystal shaman. Talk about triple threat, right? I have to say, listen, I believe in all the above. I do believe to an extent there might be power in nature. No, there must be. I believe in ghosts. I believe in mediums. I had a great reading one time. I believe in tarot cards. But there's something different about it when it comes to Goop, and I'll talk about that in a bit. But there is a line. Like, I think there's a line you can cross and a responsibility you have to have as like a crystal healer, for example. This woman offered crystal prescriptions at the event where she'd tell you what crystals you were missing from your life, and she apparently blended in her intuitive medium skills at the same time, even telling one reporter that she thought they had psychic abilities and giving another woman advice on whether or not she should move to New York with her boyfriend. I personally not sure I'd be leaving major life decisions like that up to a crystal shaman, but each to their own, I guess. And if it wasn't enough to keep you busy, the panels throughout the day included things like a doctor talking about how our minds can manifest illnesses in our body, and another doctor urging attendees to remove the seeds from tomatoes before eating them to improve their gut health, as well as a panel on sexuality, which included Jenny Koner, the executive producer of Girls' HBO series, and discussions about how your relationship with your mother could affect you in adult life. Sounds interesting. Another one of the panels was a demonstration of a 10-minute facelift technique. In a Refinery 29 article reviewing the event, the reviewer described the experience saying, "The facelift done on a Goop employee whose face was pre-numbed before hopping up on stage involved a doctor sticking a needle and thread through a woman's cheek in order to pull the sugar molecule thread through her skin. The result, a tighter appearance and at least a few nauseous members of the audience. It was apparently Paltrow's idea." I guess they're talking about the threading, right? That became really, really popular and giving that kind of like cat's eye kind of facelift. And it was just done on stage. And of course, it included a host of celebrities with Nicole Richie, Cameron Diaz, Miranda Kerr, and Tory Burch all joining Paltrow on the interestingly named Balls in the Air panel at the end of the day. Miranda Kerr actually has quite a nice skincare line that I think is kind of like underappreciated. And this was a panel where they talked about feminism, relationships, and the career goals, as well as Miranda Kerr apparently admitting that she'd recently had a leech facial and that she actually took the leeches home afterwards so her esthetician wouldn't kill them. That seems pretty nice to me. You know what? Yeah, good on you. I would listen to Miranda Kerr, Cameron Diaz, Nicole Richie, and Tanya Birch talking about feminism. I would. Other than the activities panels, nausea-inducing demonstrations, and the bizarre relationships, of course there was a huge range of health-conscious foods on offer, including things like bulletproof coffee, iced matcha, raspberry vegan ice cream, overnight oats, ginger shots, kale salads, and even worse, kale ice cream. All the above sounds lovely. I can't do kale. I cannot do kale. It tastes like plastic to me. Horrible. And if you paid for the top tier event pass, you actually got to enjoy your kale ice cream in a sit-down lunch with Gwyneth Paltrow herself. Sounds riveting. The event even had a space called the Goop Hall, which was basically a bunch of pop-up shops where you could buy some of the products featured in Gwyneth Paltrow's blog, as well as products from Goop's own line of clean beauty products. Clean. The items on offer included some of the usual interesting things you find on Goop: organic bone broth, weed vape pens, vitamins that cost $90, moisturizers for $110, and the infamous vaginal jade egg, which has caused some major issues for the brand, but we'll get into that a bit later if you don't remember from my previous video. And as In Goop Health has spread the offer to other cities and countries and has developed over time, things have continued to keep a very similar vibe, while arguably getting a little more out there as the years go by. One reporter who actually attended the London event for Stylist talked about how the day started with her and 250 other women sitting in a room and being instructed by a psychotherapist running the session to visualize their mothers, not their actual mothers, but rather the archetypal mother. I'm not really sure what that means. And I'm also not sure it was worth the $1,000 it costs for a day pass to the event, or even the $4,500 it cost for a whole weekend pass. 1, 2, 3. $1,000 for one day. $2,000 for 2 days, right? Why? What's the jump to $4,500? Probably more perks, right? More kale. Other events have reportedly included what many have described as a cult-like opening to proceedings, with a Kundalini meditation session that had attendees raising their arms to the sky, thumbs up, and practicing something called the breath of fire, which is a breathing technique that one reviewer described as hyperventilating with a purpose, and this has become the standard opening activity for these events. The same reviewer, writing for Refinery29, went on to say that what followed at the event included a woman who claimed to be a psychic medium who proceeded to divulge very personal information about the reproductive health of one of the attendees' family members in front of an entire audience. She also said that the day included a fireside chat with Paltrow, and a woman claimed to be a medical intuitive, which is apparently someone who claims they have a natural ability to sense what's wrong with your body, basically giving you a medical diagnosis without any evidence or medical training. And this is where it bothers me. This is where these things bother me. Tell me about my future. Tell me how many dogs I'm gonna have, which my medium did, they were spot on. Tell me about my job, all these kind of things, but do not diagnose me or pretend that that's what you can do. It's dangerous. And that this medical intuitive allegedly told attendees that their fear of being raped really comes from their second chakra, which is understandably a concept the reviewer didn't appreciate. Other so-called experts at some of the events have included Reiki masters, a sonic artist, I'm not really sure what that is, a breathing and transformation coach who describes their workshops as like therapy without the words. Can breathing be therapy? Maybe? And a psychological astrologer, which is basically what it sounds like. It's a therapist that incorporates astrology into their work, apparently. Again, kind of believe in it, kind of don't. It's more entertainment for me. And the activities at In Goop Health summits have included all sorts of things over the years, like crystal light baths, a workout class taught by Tracy Anderson, drinking coffee with added collagen, ear seed acupuncture, magnetic acupressure, people pulling their pants down in front of everyone so they can get a vitamin B12 shot in the bum, self-hypnosis sessions, drinking something called moon juice, and a jeweled bindi being placed over your third eye in order to get your electromagnetic field recalibrated. I mean, listen, I'm not shitting on it if that's your thing. The list of celebrity attendees and guest speakers also includes people from a wide range of backgrounds, having welcomed Demi Moore, Drew Barrymore, Dr. Alejandro Younger, who endorses coffee enemas and detox cleansers. These coffee enemas have literally killed people. Renowned volleyball player Gabrielle Reese, Penelope Cruz, Elaine Welteroth, who is the former editor of Teen Vogue, Laura Linney, Chelsea Handler, Gillian Flynn, the author of Gone Girl, legendary model Twiggy, and more over the years. Gwyneth Paltrow has a lot of friends, a lot of celebrity friends. And this all, of course, takes place in a very curated space, decorated with Goop's signature minimalistic style, like Scandinavian, white leather chairs, sheepskin rugs, quartz crystals everywhere, all mixed in with Goop's branded merch pretty much everywhere. And that kind of sums up the experience pretty well, just the visuals. It seems to be a weird mixture of a relaxing day at the spa, a TED talk, and a luxury shopping trip. Despite the chill disconnect from the troubles of the real world vibe that Gwyneth and her team try to create at these summits, they can't seem to stop themselves from trying to sell you things at the same time. Which, to be fair, you expect it, right? I would like to buy things if I go to a summit. I go to a lot of conventions, but I never expect them to be relaxing in any way. Do I want to be getting an IV drip or a shot in the bum at these things? No, no. So listen, this event isn't for me, so I'm not gonna go. But what is fairly surprising is the feedback from actual attendees and perception of the events in general. It's been fairly mixed. So here's what people are thinking. There are, of course, plenty of people who adore everything about Goop and what In the Goop Health Summits have to offer. And many have praised the events as an indulgent day of self-care and an escape from everyday life. And this is arguably the most common praise that attendees have had about these Goop events. As you might have expected, the majority of attendees are women, and a lot of them have spoken out about how they struggle to find themselves in their normal lives. What they seem to love about these summits most of all is the opportunity to focus on themselves for once, to forget about the responsibilities for a day or two, and focus on their well-being, and I love that. Who cares if people are mocking you? Who cares if this isn't other people's thing? Go and enjoy yourself. If this is your release from everyday life, if this is what brings you joy and gets you through life and something you truly believe in, not at detriment to your health, knock yourself out. I love that for people. One reviewer for Vanity Fair said that the first New York event allowed for a place for women to come together and exist in the same space, taking care of themselves and simply taking part in things that they wanted to do. Another writer for Refinery 29 described the event as intoxicatingly selfish, a full day of thinking about myself and only myself. Sounds great. Other attendees were a little bit more balanced with their reviews, seeing the good and the bad in the events. One journalist from The Standard summed up her experience of London. Now, hang on, I need to say before I read this bit, I expect a little bit more nuance and a little less glitter on things from English people, from British people. So it doesn't surprise me that journalists from the UK have a little bit more of a nuanced approach, or may I say well-balanced approach. A journalist from The Standard summed up her experience of the London Summit saying, "Would I have spent 1,000 on my own cash on this? No. Did it feel elitist? Yes, kind of. Did I leave feeling spiritually enlightened? Not really, but I did leave feeling like I'd done my body and soul some good. This is a new concept for the London wellness scene, and I'm willing to admit that I enjoyed it." Another woman may have described the experience of many attendees perfectly when she said, "You leave feeling like you've been somewhere special, even if you're not entirely sure what just happened to you." And that's kind of what I feel, right? I feel like this whole experience is an experience. I feel like I'd come out feeling enlightened in various ways. However, others were less taken by the luxury aesthetic, the unique activities, and celebrity speakers, with some reviewers creeped out by the cult-like feeling of the events, and Paltrow specifically, as well as plenty of attendees feeling like the experience was a major letdown. A reviewer at the New York event said, "The vibe inside The summit was maybe unexpectedly earnest, if notably fanatical. There were women in attendance who had traveled from as far as Orlando, Seattle, and Las Vegas for the event. Phones went up in the air the second Paltrow walked on stage. Those who paid for the $2,000 tickets were given the chance to chat with her and snag a photo at lunch or at the end of day cocktails. Another writer for the stylist also noticed these somewhat culty vibes, saying today she's wearing a bright red two-piece top and trousers, which seemed appropriate since she tasked herself with guiding these women through life, her goopies as she calls them, and this means they can see her a mile off. Red like a boy promising safety in the middle of a vast ocean. Spend 5 minutes observing her in a room and you will notice the effect she has on people. They gaze at her with awe, talk about her like she's a demigod. Barry Michaels called her a luminary being. Penelope Cruz said there should be monuments dedicated to her around the world. Obviously, when people say things like this, they don't really mean that In Goop Health is a cult, but they're referring to the way these events are attended almost exclusively by a very specific and well-off group of people. A lot of these journalists who have reviewed these summits have pointed out that almost all of the attendees are wealthy white women wearing the same Lululemon leggings and $300 sweatshirts. To many, it's seen as almost like an exclusive club, one that's like bizarre and confusing from the outside. But if you're on the inside, then you're surrounded by people who share a lot of the same beliefs, have a lot of the same experiences, and use a lot of the same new age spiritual language. It's easy to see how people can be sucked into making this their entire life, or even seeing Paltrow as their charismatic leader. But not everyone is left in awe of Paltrow's presence. According to a US magazine article, some attendees at the London event were unhappy with the $1,300 price tag to add a hotel stay for the weekend package, saying that the overall experience was subpar and that the prices for the hotel actually started at around $250. And one even called Gwyneth Paltrow a fucking extortionist, as well as saying that they felt like the weekend was less of a wellness summit and more of a giant sales pitch. Another attendee in London had a similar complaint, saying Gwyneth acts like she's a health goddess, but actually she's a pretentious, greedy extortionist. She had a ton of security, she was unapproachable, she did the minimum of a few fireside chats with Twiggy and Penelope Cruz, then she put on her Birkenstocks and snuck out. They go on to say, I was a huge fan of Gwyneth, now I feel like I've lost my faith in God. That's not exactly a glowing review of the event or Paltrow, and also the second person at a single event to call her an extortionist. But most, perhaps worryingly, is the reference to Gwyneth Paltrow being her god. And to be honest, I feel like this supports the whole cult-like claims some people make about the brand in general. There are quite a few people who seem to be hoping to have more interaction with Paltrow herself at these events and were left pretty disappointed when they didn't have as much contact with her as they had hoped. They probably wanted to like touch her or kiss her feet or something. Or perhaps they just get angry when they see through the buzzwords and affirmations, finally realizing that all this was just an elaborate attempt to sell something to them. It probably shouldn't come as a surprise though, right? Goop may have started as a free newsletter that Gwyneth wrote in her living room, but only took a few months before she started to turn this into a huge moneymaker. And since then, it's been clear to a lot of people that Goop, and Gwyneth Paltrow by extension, is more worried about making a profit than they are about selling you products that actually work. And this loose with the truth attitude to wellness has attracted plenty of criticisms, controversies, and legal issues for the brand. Now, Goop has been no stranger to controversy over the years, and you can watch me talk about some of their more controversial products in this video linked here, The Disturbing Truth Behind Gwyneth Paltrow's Goop Scam by James Welsh. But some of these also led to some serious legal issues for the brand. Some of the products I talk about in a little bit more detail in that video are the ones that were on sale at some of the In Goop Health summits, despite the brand having received severe criticism and even legal sanctions regarding these products prior to the summits taking place. One of the most well-known examples of this is to do with the infamous vaginal jade eggs I mentioned earlier. If you somehow haven't heard of these, they're basically what they sound like. It's a small egg-shaped rock made out of jade. The issue comes in when you see that Goop and Gwyneth Paltrow made unsubstantiated claims that the eggs could help balance hormones and even regulate menstrual cycles. Obviously, none of which is true. Another example of Goop's questionable product claims can be seen in the coffee enema kit that they sell, which has also received major criticism from health professionals, and there is absolutely no evidence that coffee enemas and that colonic irrigation in general has any real health benefits, and some experts say that they can even result in health complications. Yet Goop still thought it was appropriate to invite multiple guest speakers to their events who were strong advocates of this procedure, because they don't care about actual health, they care about your money. And it's exactly these kinds of questionable marketing claims that Goop loves to make, which eventually led the Truth in Advertising organization to investigate what they considered illegal health claims. This resulted in them reporting more than 50 instances in Goop's marketing where they made claims about a product's ability to treat, cure, prevent, alleviate the symptoms of, or reduce the risk of a developing particular alignment without the required level of scientific evidence to legally make such claims. They're full of shit, basically. And with the claims about the jade eggs and coffee enemas, the organization also took issue with Goop's claims that crystal harmonics can help with infertility, that a rose flower tincture could cure depression, that wearable stickers would help with anxiety, and that vitamin D3 helped prevent cancer. The organization contacted Goop about these illegal claims, but the brand decided to ignore them. So instead, Truth in Advertising reported these issues to 2 California district attorneys that were part of the California Food, Drug, and Medical Device Task Force in 2017. Speaking about their concerns, the executive director of Truth in Advertising said, "Marketing products as having the ability to treat diseases and disorders not only violates established law, but is a terribly deceptive marketing ploy that is being used by Goop to exploit women for its own financial gain. Goop needs to stop its misleading profits over people marketing immediately." As a result of the Truth in Advertising's report, California's prosecutors brought a lawsuit against the brand, and Goop later paid $145,000 in civil penalties for marketing unsubstantiated medical claims. Should have been more in my opinion. And Truth in Advertising concerns also extended to the In Goop Health summits. They took particular issues with Goop misrepresenting a quote written by a journalist for Refinery 29 in their review of the first ever event. Goop took a part of the quote which said Paltrow created the Disneyland of wellness summits and posted this on their website to promote their upcoming events in New York and LA, but they conveniently left out what the full quote actually said. Here is the full quote. "Sadly, Paltrow had created the Disneyland of wellness summits. While the activities were enticing, the lines were too long to really want to wait for any of them. I really did want to see if I felt more energized with some extra pumps of vitamin, whatever coursing through my veins, but I knew I'd feel a lot worse if I missed an entire panel whilst waiting on my drip." The review was complaining about the fact that the first summit was poorly organized and that all the activities were massively overbooked, meaning that a lot of people who paid a large amount of money to be there didn't get to take part in all the activities available and that they essentially had paid for. These organization issues have apparently been fixed, but the mere fact that Goop tried to mislead their fans about the actual quote has led a lot of people to question the brand's integrity. The vampire spray that they launched on their website had me way before that misleading quote. The jade eggs had me questioning their integrity as well, way before a misleading quote. Like all their bullshit. Other concerns about Goop's integrity, particularly when it comes to the In Goop Health events, include one reviewer for GQ pointing out that some of the supplements available to buy at the summit were the same ones available on InfoWars, which the writer described as Alex Jones's emporium of conspiracy theories and alt-right wellness. In case you don't know, Alex Jones is the guy who was ordered to pay $1.5 billion in damages to the families of the Sandy Hook school shooting victims because he tried to convince people that the tragedy was a hoax meant to promote gun restrictions. There is a strong link between clean beauty and wellness and the far right at the moment. I have a whole video about that too. While another reviewer for The Stylist took issue with the summit, including an activity run by Dr. Barbara Sturm, an aesthetics practitioner who cosplays as a dermatologist, who you know I'm not a fan of. The writer said that during the session, Sturm casually said to attendees, "I don't know why, but I am the only person in the world who can make products that absorb into the skin." It's these kind of ridiculous claims that Goop is known for, either by making them themselves or by promoting alleged experts who are arrogant enough to actually believe things like this. Experts who believe their hyaluronic acid serum deserves to be that expensive or is superior in any way. It's this sort of thing that has done real damage to how so many people perceive Goop as a whole, with many believing that most of what Goop does is a bit of a scam, while others believe that at the very least it's all just a glossy, Instagram-friendly sales funnel masquerading as a wellness revolution. Given the brand's willingness to promote pseudoscience and sometimes even outright dangerous health advice, you can't really blame some people for being skeptical about the brand's intentions, and it certainly doesn't help that Gwyneth Paltrow herself has admitted on multiple occasions that she doesn't even know what Goop is talking about most of the time. You run the company. That's not exactly inspiring confidence. But I think perfectly sums up this side of the wellness industry in general. Despite all the controversies and criticism surrounding the events and the brand in general, it doesn't seem like the In Goop Health Summits are going anywhere anytime soon. There are still plenty of people willing to pay thousands to experience Goop's in-person events, especially if they get a chance to meet their charismatic leader, Gwyneth. To be clear, I think a lot of what people enjoy about these events and Goop in general is great if it gets you to focus on your health and helps you explore wellness in whatever way that is, spiritual, physical, whatever, or just lets you have a break from your normal stressful life, then that is great. I love that. What I do have a problem with is the way that Goop and a lot of other wellness brands, to be fair, prey very specifically on women's insecurities. Instead of really helping women who are just trying to find the best way to be healthy and to live their lives, these brands seem more concerned about getting as much money as they can from women, scaring the shit out of them first, taking their money, and then they don't seem too bothered about whether what they're actually selling is going to help or not. It goes to an extreme for me when mediums, crystal healers, wellness guru experts, for example, are telling you that a crystal can heal your cancer, are telling you that a supplement will cure you from cancer. You know, when we talk about the dangers of wellness culture, it's easy for us to like roll our eyes at things like the detox candles and eggs or whatever Gwyneth Paltrow is selling now. But beyond those like overpriced gimmicks, people are dying from this. Take the case of Paloma Shimirani. Very, very recently, this just happened. Paloma was just 23 years old when she died of non-Hodgkin lymphoma, which is a form of cancer, which doctors said she had an 80% chance of surviving with chemotherapy. But instead of treatment, she turned to alternative therapies after years of being influenced by her mother, Kate Shimirani. She's a former nurse who was struck off for spreading dangerous misinformation about COVID-19, conspiracy theories, and anti-medicine beliefs. She kind of became like this weird wellness influencer. She promoted juicing, coffee enemas, and other so-called natural cures as superior to science, backed by medicine, and Paloma followed her guidance, and within months, Paloma passed away. Her brothers spoke out, I think they were on like This Morning a couple months back, pretty much blaming their mother's wellness-fueled conspiracy theories for Paloma's death, warning that social media platforms continue to push the same kinds of misinformation that shaped their sister's choices. Well, the mum's choices, which then translated to the sister. And doctors kind of agree. They believe that these kind of like wellness quackery beliefs, which were once considered kind of rare and fringe, I guess you can say, are now increasingly mainstream, being amplified by influencers and these public figures like Gwyneth Paltrow, framing pseudoscience as alternative health instead of the bullshit that it usually is. So when someone with a huge platform sells the idea that conventional medicine is toxic or that natural alternatives are inherently better, vulnerable people can start to doubt proven treatments. Paloma's story shows the real life actual devastating consequences of that shift. A mum, I think she was in America, whose child has just passed away because she fed the baby raw milk. Because of conspiracy theories, because of online beauty gurus. It's craziness to me. These aren't just harmless lifestyle choices or lifestyle advice. It can directly lead people away from the very treatments that can save their lives. And I'll repeat again, time and time again, I don't blame the people who are falling for this stuff. The majority of people who are falling for these things are people who have been terrified into believing that Big Pharma are trying to kill them and they're only trying to do what is right for their family, their babies, their daughter. I mean, this Kate one was a little bit extreme. They are just trying to do what's right, but they're being brainwashed into thinking that this is the right way to go. And unfortunately, it has very real life consequences. And honestly, that's why I make these videos, and not just to shit all over Goop and laugh at people who love these kind of things. And wellness culture is its own thing, right? I don't get it. But when it stops being about self-care and starts being about spreading pseudoscience and fighting scientists online, it's not just about wasting money, it's about wasting lives. But let me know what you think about Goop in the comments down below. And the In Goop Health Summit, I kind of want to go, like maybe in a disguise. Do you agree with some of the fans who think it's an amazing opportunity to explore cutting edge treatments, ideas, concepts that mainstream medicine ignores? Or do you agree with the critics who say that it's like a symbol of everything wrong with modern wellness and an expensive pseudoscientific cash grab? That's what I think. More concerned about selling an image than on delivering any real health benefits.